Imagine for a moment that water, the very source of life, could also become the doorway for something unseen, something that drains your energy, disturbs your peace, and attracts forces you never intended to invite into your home. In many traditions, water is sacred. It cleanses, heals, and nourishes. But when misplaced, neglected, or left standing where it does not belong, that same water can turn into a silent invitation for heaviness, for darkness, and for energies that are not in harmony with you. Water is often spoken of as the source of life, and rightly so, because without it no living being can survive. It nourishes the body, cools the earth, and sustains every single breath we take. But at the same time, it is important to recognize that this very element carries within it a dual nature. It does not simply give, it also has the potential to take. It is not simply pure, it also has the ability to hold and transmit what is impure. If we look closely, water reflects the truth of balance. It can become medicine or poison depending on how it is treated and where it is placed. When water is fresh and flowing, it carries movement, vitality, and clarity. Flowing water washes away what is stagnant, it cleanses wounds, and it rejuvenates the spirit. The sound of a river or a fountain calms the mind because it resonates with our inner rhythm. This is why across cultures water is used in sacred rituals, bathing, sprinkling, or drinking it with the intention of renewal. But when water loses its flow, when it becomes still and forgotten, its nature changes. It no longer gives life in the same way. Instead, it begins to hold on to things, to trap energies that should have been carried away. Think of a pond that is not moving. Day by day, dust settles, leaves rot, and insects gather. The water thickens, its clarity fades, and it becomes heavy. Just as the body becomes sick when circulation stops, so does water lose its vitality when it no longer moves. Now, this physical reality is a mirror of its energetic quality. Water that is left sitting too long in places where it does not belong begins to absorb, to collect, to store vibrations. These vibrations are not neutral. They are often the emotions, the fears, or the unseen energies that linger in our environment. This is why we must be careful where we allow water to rest. A glass left on a bedside table for days, a bowl of water forgotten in a corner, or stagnant water collecting in the home. These are not just minor oversights. They are signals that invite the wrong kind of presence into your life. Because water has no choice, it does not decide what it will carry. It simply absorbs what surrounds it. And if what surrounds it is unresolved pain, heavy emotions, or unseen influences, then that is exactly what the water will mirror back into the space. Understanding this dual nature of water brings responsibility, to honor it when it gives life, but to also respect it when it warns us of imbalance. Just as fire can warm or burn, water can cleanse or corrupt. When we become mindful of this, we no longer treat water carelessly. We see that it is a living element that either supports our harmony or magnifies our disharmony. And so, never leave water where it does not belong, for in doing so, you unknowingly allow what is pure to turn into a doorway for what is not. When we speak about stagnant water, we are not simply describing a physical state, we are describing an energetic condition. Flowing water has movement, and with movement comes release, renewal, and transformation. But when water stands still, when it no longer has direction or purpose, it becomes a container. It begins to hold, to collect, and to trap whatever enters its field. Over time, this stillness is not peaceful. It is heavy. It becomes a silent magnet for what is unresolved. And that is why stagnant water is one of the most powerful traps of energy. Think about how our own emotions work. When they move freely, we express, we communicate, we let them pass. But when emotions are held suppressed or buried, they ferment inside of us, creating tension, stress, and sometimes even illness. The water outside of us behaves in the same way. Left in one place without renewal, it gathers all that is unseen. Dust, dirt, vibrations, energies that linger in the environment. Instead of releasing them, it absorbs and keeps them. That accumulation creates a field of heaviness, one that influences the atmosphere of the room, and eventually, the state of mind of those living in it. You may have experienced this before without realizing it. Walking into a space where a bowl of water has been left for days, the air feels different, slightly uncomfortable, as if something is pressing down. You cannot see it, but you sense it. This is not imagination, it is the reality of how energy pools and stagnates. Water becomes the storage unit, and because it holds without discrimination, it does not only carry neutral impressions, it carries the fear, the sadness, the arguments, the tension that happened in that space. Slowly, the water becomes a reflection of all that is unresolved around it. It is no coincidence that many traditions consider stagnant water a sign of misfortune. Farmers know it brings disease to crops, healers know it attracts weakness to the body, and spiritually, it has long been understood as an open invitation for forces that thrive in disorder. Just as a neglected room attracts dust and insects, stagnant water attracts energies that feed on stillness, on heaviness, on decay. This is why it is dangerous to leave cups of water by the bed for too long, or to allow water to sit uncovered in hidden corners. These are not harmless habits. They are acts of unawareness that slowly transform the energy of your environment. You may begin to notice restlessness at night, strange dreams, or simply a lack of clarity in thought. These are the subtle signs that the energy around you is not flowing, that it has been trapped, and the source is often something as simple as forgotten water. To protect your space and your well-being, you must never allow water to become stagnant in places it does not belong, because what begins as stillness soon becomes a vessel for energies that are not welcome in your life. The place where water rests is never a matter of chance. Every position within a home or a space carries its own meaning, its own influence, and when we overlook this, we overlook how easily imbalance can slip into our lives. Placement is not simply about physical location, it is about the unseen connection between environment and energy. Just as we would not sleep in a place filled with noise or meditate in the middle of chaos, water too has its rightful places where it supports life, and places where it begins to disturb it. Consider why fountains are placed in gardens, why rivers are often near temples, why wells are built in the center of villages. There is wisdom in these placements. Flowing water near living spaces brings freshness, abundance, and vitality. It reminds the body and mind of renewal. But when water is placed in the wrong corner, or left in hidden areas of a home, its influence shifts. Instead of inviting clarity, it draws in heaviness. Instead of symbolizing life, it becomes a silent messenger of imbalance. Think of a glass of water left near the head of the bed. The body is in its most vulnerable state during sleep, open, unguarded, receptive. That water is not just sitting there, it is absorbing. Every breath, every vibration, every subtle tension of the night is collected in that still liquid. Over time, the energy it gathers does not simply stay within the glass, it radiates back into the space, filling the room with a heaviness that you may carry with you upon waking. Nightmares, restlessness, or waking up without energy often come from such unnoticed details. It is the same with corners of the house where water collects. Corners already symbolize stagnation because they are places where energy does not move freely. Adding water there doubles this effect, amplifying stagnation and creating an anchor for negativity to settle. The placement of water in these forgotten places acts like an open doorway. You may not see it, but what is attracted through that doorway is very real in how it impacts your state of mind, your relationships, even your fortune. Cultures across the world have always recognized this. Some advise never to keep water near sacred altars. Others warn against leaving bowls of water near entrances at night, because these places are thresholds. A threshold is either a passage of light or an opening for disturbance. Water, when wrongly placed at such thresholds, tips the balance toward disturbance. So when we speak about water, it is not only the quality of the water itself that matters. It is the placement, the environment it occupies, the symbolic message it sends. A misplaced cup, a forgotten bowl, a neglected container of water can be the very thing that shifts the balance of a household. And for this reason, you must never ignore where water rests, for its placement decides whether it nourishes your life or quietly invites what you would never wish to enter. Water has always been more than just a physical element. Across cultures and traditions, it has been seen as a bridge between the visible and the invisible, between the material and the spiritual. From ancient rituals of purification to sacred offerings, water has carried meaning far beyond quenching thirst. It has been the medium through which prayers are carried, intentions are sealed, and connections with the unseen are established. This is why the presence of neglected or misplaced water is not just a matter of disorder. It is an open invitation for forces from beyond to interact with your space. If you look at how water is used in rituals, you begin to see this clearly. Holy water is believed to protect, cleanse, and drive away negativity. It is not just the water itself, but the way it has been blessed and charged with intention. In the same way, shamans, monks, and healers have long used bowls of water to capture energies, sometimes even to absorb illness from the body or to collect the disturbances of the mind. The water becomes a vessel, holding what is unseen until it can be released. This shows us that water has a unique ability to connect with realms we cannot always perceive directly. Now imagine when such water is left unattended, without intention, without purpose. A glass left at the bedside, a bowl forgotten in the corner. These are not neutral objects. They are open vessels, and by their very nature they invite interaction with the unseen. Just as an unlocked door may tempt an intruder, stagnant or neglected water is like an unlocked spiritual doorway. What passes through it depends on the environment, the energies lingering in the home, and the vulnerabilities of those living within it. It is also important to recognize that water mirrors the state of the space it inhabits. If the household is filled with harmony, water reflects and amplifies this clarity. But if the household carries unresolved tension, fear, or sorrow, then the water becomes a magnet for such vibrations. Spirits, energies, and influences that resonate with heaviness are naturally drawn to such conditions. This is why, in folklore, stagnant water is often associated with ghostly presences or malevolent spirits. The water does not create them. It simply provides the perfect medium for them to anchor themselves. Many people experience disturbances in their sleep, strange sensations at night, or a feeling of being watched without understanding that the simplest explanation lies in the environment they themselves have created. That forgotten cup, that unnoticed bowl of water, acts silently, collecting and transmitting what does not belong. And because water is a connector, it amplifies the bond between the physical world and the unseen one. This is why you must never underestimate the spiritual dimension of water. When it is cared for and placed with awareness, it protects and heals. But when left forgotten, it becomes the most natural doorway for unseen energies to step into your life. There are moments in life when we feel unsettled, when the atmosphere around us feels heavy, when the nights do not bring rest but strange dreams, or when the flow of abundance in our lives seems blocked without clear reason. Often, people look far outside themselves to explain these experiences, but sometimes the cause lies within the very space they inhabit, in the unnoticed details of their environment. One of the most overlooked sources of such disturbance is the way water is kept, forgotten, or misplaced. The signs that negativity has been invited through water are subtle at first, but if ignored, they begin to shape the rhythm of daily life. Restlessness at night is one of the first indicators. When water is left uncovered near the bed, it interacts with the vulnerable state of the body during sleep. Sleep is meant to be a time of restoration, but water sitting near your resting place can absorb the fears, the tensions, even the subconscious anxieties of the night. This disturbed energy does not disappear, it remains, and it radiates back into the room. The result is that you wake up feeling drained rather than refreshed. Nightmares, sudden awakenings, or even a sense of being watched are not coincidences. They are signals that something in the environment is out of balance. Another sign is the decline in mental clarity. Water that has been stagnant in your space influences the atmosphere in subtle but persistent ways. Over time, the mind begins to feel clouded, focus becomes difficult, and decisions feel heavier than they should. This is not just psychological, it is energetic. Just as polluted air affects the lungs, polluted energy affects the mind. Forgotten water, collecting vibrations day after day, becomes a constant reminder of unresolved weight, and anyone in that environment unconsciously absorbs it. There is also the connection to financial and physical well-being. Many traditions hold the belief that water, when not flowing in the right way, can drain prosperity. When cups, bowls, or containers of stagnant water remain in living spaces, they act as silent channels through which abundance slips away. You may notice unexpected expenses, money leaving faster than it arrives, or opportunities passing without explanation. On the physical level, such water is said to weaken vitality, inviting fatigue, minor illnesses, or a general lack of energy. The body and spirit are directly affected by what the environment holds. Perhaps the most concerning sign is the emotional atmosphere. Families may notice more arguments, a heavier mood lingering in the home, or an unspoken tension among those living together. This is because stagnant water not only holds vibrations but magnifies them. What begins as a small misunderstanding grows heavier, fueled by the energy the water has absorbed and released back into the room. These signs are not to be ignored, because they point to something very simple yet profound. When water is left where it does not belong, it changes from being a source of life into a carrier of imbalance. And so, never overlook the signs, for they are reminders that awareness in the smallest details protects the harmony of your entire life. The most important step after recognizing the power water holds is learning how to restore harmony through awareness. Awareness is not a complicated practice. It begins with seeing what has always been in front of you, noticing what you once overlooked, and treating even the smallest detail as significant. When you understand that water can either serve as a channel for clarity or as a vessel for heaviness, your relationship with it changes. You no longer treat it carelessly. You begin to place it with intention, to remove it when it no longer serves, and to honor it as a living presence in your space. Restoring harmony is about mindfulness in daily actions. If you drink a glass of water at night, finish it or empty it before you sleep. If you keep water for ritual or for refreshment, replace it regularly so that it is always clean, always fresh, always alive with energy. This simple practice shifts the vibration of your environment. Instead of allowing stagnation to build, you create a cycle of renewal. Just as rivers are renewed by flow, your home is renewed by the conscious movement of water. It is also about placement. Be mindful of where water rests. Let it be present in spaces that invite vitality, such as in open areas where light touches it, rather than in hidden corners where it collects shadows. A bowl of water with flowers in the living room may uplift the atmosphere, while that same bowl left forgotten behind a door may invite heaviness. The water itself does not change, but the energy of its placement does. Awareness means choosing these placements with care, knowing that every choice shapes the balance of your environment. When you practice this, you will notice a transformation. Sleep becomes deeper, the atmosphere of the home feels lighter, and your mind begins to carry clarity rather than confusion. Relationships smooth out, as the vibrations of stagnation are no longer amplified. Even the flow of opportunities, health, and prosperity align more naturally. It is not magic in the sense of illusion, it is simply the natural consequence of living with awareness of how energy works. Restoring harmony also requires respect. When you throw away water that has been sitting too long, do it with the understanding that you are releasing what it has collected. When you refresh it, do it with the awareness that you are inviting purity back into your life. Small actions, when done with intention, carry great power. This is the essence of awareness, knowing that nothing is too small to influence the quality of your life. So remember, harmony is not something given from outside. It is something you create, moment by moment, through the awareness of your actions. And when it comes to water, awareness is the key that transforms it from an invitation for darkness into a source of light.